people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Welcome to the mother relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Dimitri Salita, who promotes Clarissa Shields, insists Shields versus Marshall rematch must be in the United States. Shields versus Marshall in the United States. Anyone? Detroit witnessed Clarissa Shields retaining her undisputed middleweight titles against Marisela Cornejo last month. Boxing promoter Dimitri Salita, in a conversation with Seconds Out, described the event as momentous and one that breathed new light into Detroit's boxing scene. The relevance of this conversation, a rematch between Clarissa and Savannah, is brought forward as a result of Savannah's upcoming fight with Franchon Cruz for what is the undisputed super middleweight championship. Immediately after the first Clarissa Shields versus Savannah Marshall fight, it was thought that a rematch between them would be immediate. That's not the case, as Clarissa insists the second fight has to happen in America. All things considered, not an outlandish request. No, she won the first fight. But it's not a lock either. It's not a guarantee. The only way you get Savannah Marshall to board a plane to come to America to fight Clarissa here is if the money is right. You have to make the numbers work. What you're offering her to fight in America has to be more than Boxer is willing to pay her to fight in the UK. You have to remember that in that scenario, Savannah Marshall would be the reigning defending champion and the traveling champion, thus you have to make it worth her while. She will be in possession of all the alphabet titles. If she beats Franchon Cruz, if she loses, I think that pretty much tables a Shields rematch. Savannah's got to win. Don't think she's going to be looking to fight Clarissa for a second time if Franchon beats her. Right? There are a lot of shoulds in this conversation. Why should Clarissa travel back to the United Kingdom? Savannah should come to America to face Clarissa for a second time if she wants a second fight. And I understand all of that, but nobody's going to board a plane to come to America to make less money than they make in their own backyard. Nobody. Clarissa was very recently in action opposite the ring Marisela Cornejo. Dimitri Salita, the promoter of Clarissa Shields, called the event a resounding success. Salita noted that Shields' performance was crucial in rejuvenating the boxing scene in Detroit and demonstrated her standing as one of the world's premier fighters. Few fighters can headline a big arena like Clarissa did. This fight was incredible, selling an impressive number of tickets, Salita said. The event attracted a global audience with visitors from England, Africa, and all over the United States. Saw the fight. Saw a lot of empty seats. That's not saying that a good number of people didn't show up. They did, and Clarissa got good crowd participation. That was a crowd that was mostly rooting Clarissa on, but I'd be lying to you if I told you that the size of that audience was akin to the audience in the Shields versus Marshall fight. Shields versus Marshall was fought in front of more people than Shields versus Cornejo. More people, more money. Salita then spoke about a highly anticipated rematch between Shields and Marshall. Although he did not provide a specific timeline for a second fight, he stressed that it would have to take place in the United States, with Clarissa Shields' hometown of Detroit being a leading candidate. And you can put all your shoulds away. That Clarissa should this or Savannah should that, because ultimately, the only way I see the second fight happening is if they can make the numbers work. If Savannah stands to make the same or more in Detroit that she can make in the UK. If she can't, it don't go down. It don't happen. Tack on that the winner of Franchon Cruz versus Savannah Marshall already has a mandatory challenger in the queue in the form of Jadeja Green. Jadeja is patiently waiting for the winner of that fight to emerge so that she can challenge them. That requires reconciliation as well. Yeah. Clarissa already fought at least once in the UK and sold a tremendous amount of tickets, so I really believe that financially and promotion-wise, visibility-wise, it would make the most sense if there's a rematch with Clarissa and Savannah for it to be in Detroit, Salita said. It's all about the almighty dollar. We don't even know that Savannah Marshall is going to make it past Franchon Cruz. In the event that she does, she still has to deal with Jadeja Green. And even if she's willing to drop the WBC title and surrender it to Jadeja so she can move forward with a fight with Clarissa, then it becomes about making the numbers work. Offering Savannah something worthwhile, offering her something that will get her on a plane to fight in America. It really is as simple as that. No fighter, no reigning defending champion is going to board a plane to fight on foreign soil for less money than they'd make fighting in their own neck of the woods.
The only reason that Clarissa did it is because Sky Sports and Boxer were offering her a lot of money to do it.
She didn't do it for free, and she didn't do it by accident. Boxer were willing to pay generously in order to host that fight. So naturally, Clarissa went along with it because she didn't have a major broadcast partner at that time. She had already parted ways with Showtime.
Dimitri Salita was still her promoter, but he didn't have a broadcast deal.
Seems to have something going on with DAZN now. I wonder if that will be a hindrance towards staging a second fight, because Savannah fights on Sky and Clarissa, at least her last fight, it was on DAZN.
But as stated, the only reason that Clarissa fought in the United Kingdom is because Boxer was willing to pay. So if what they want now is for Savannah to fight in America, they have to pay.
She has to win. She has to win the upcoming fight with Franchon Cruz, which is right around the corner.
That's what's most important.
Beyond that, Dimitri Salita has to get the checkbook out and make it worth Savannah's while, because in that situation, she will be the reigning, defending, undisputed champion.
Her options really aren't limited to a Clarissa Shields rematch. There are other fights out there.
Gotta sweeten the deal. Men's heavyweight news, Tyson Fury with an update on his next fight today. Can't wait for you all to see what I've got coming. It's show-stopping. Heavyweight King, can't wait till my next fight. I've been training daily from Christmas, trying to get a fight. Tried many fighters and have had no luck. But that won't keep me down. I'm blessed every day. I wake up, I know God loves me. And everything will work out the way it should, as it always does. Can't wait for you all to see what I've got coming for you guys. It's show-stopping.
Errant mystery as to who it is Tyson Fury will be fighting in his next fight, because we know who he won't be fighting. He won't be fighting Usyk. He won't be fighting AJ.
So who will he be fighting? His reported struggles to pin down an opponent. Johnny Nelson, former cruiserweight champion turned commentator Johnny Nelson, recently talked about that, giving his 2 cents.
Not buying that bullshit that nobody wants to fight Tyson Fury.
The heels of the Usyk fight's collapse. Usyk, if he won the first fight, wanted a 70-30 split in his favor for the rematch. Fury rejected that scenario and was only willing to offer up an even 50-50 split for a second fight. A second fight in the event that Usyk won the first one.
Right.
Johnny Nelson feels Fury's financial demands could very well be an indication of just how dangerous he views the fight with Usyk.
I agree.
Remember, it's only 70-30 if Usyk wins. If Usyk wins the first fight. But if you like your chances against Usyk in that first fight, you'll tell yourself,
He's not going to get 70-30 because he's not going to win the first fight.
so why not agree to it? He only gets 70-30 in the second fight if he wins the first. If you like your chances in the first fight, he won't make it that far. Johnny Nelson stated, "It sounds like Tyson Fury doesn't believe he beats Usyk. So all the demands and all the negotiating,
All the hustling.
I won't be one of these fools who blow smoke up his ass. I see through it," Nelson told Seconds Out. Fury has been out of the ring since last December, when he battered and stopped Derek Chisora in their trilogy fight. Besides the discussions to secure Usyk, Fury was unable to get Joshua, Andy Ruiz, and Zhilei Zhang.
We've talked about all of that.
I don't agree with everything that Johnny Nelson says, but I do agree with him here because it's a fairly simple situation to understand. Usyk asking for a 70-30 split in the event of a rematch isn't a lot to ask.
No, it isn't. 70-30 in the event that he wins, that's reasonable.
And if you like your chances, if you really like your chances against him as much as you say you do, that wouldn't have bothered you. That wouldn't have stopped the both of you from reaching a deal. There's enough evidence out there already.
Remember, Sugar Hill Stewart himself said he wasn't even training Fury for that fight. He wasn't even preparing him.
So was Fury even serious about getting in the ring with this guy, or was he just leading people on in order to save face? There are several other contenders like Martin Bakole and Agit Kabayel, Frankie Sanchez, F.A. Ajagba, Felipe Hergovic, and Luis Ortiz, who would jump at the opportunity to fight Fury. Nelson has no issue with Fury getting the bulk of the money for his next defense, but he disagrees with Fury's position that nobody wants to face him. You can fight, and you deserve the lion's share, but I'm not buying that bullshit that no one wants to fight you, Nelson said.
I don't buy it either.
If it really was all about scheduling a keep busy fight, a takeover fight en route to an Usyk fight in December, that should be easy enough to do, if that were the focus. But I've maintained throughout, that's not the focus. The focus is substituting.
They're trying to find a substitute for an Usyk fight because they don't intend to fight him in December.
Keeping with that story, Skills Challenge is prepared to pay a premium price for Fury versus Usyk and Joshua versus Wilder.
That much we know.
You ask yourself, If the best money in the sport right now is in the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia, then what is Tyson Fury's aversion to going there? What's Frank Warren's? What's Bob Arum's?
It's the real problem here.
If the money for the fight in Saudi is better than the money for the fight in the UK, there should be no issue.
At least in theory.
Needless to say, whenever Tyson Fury is involved, there's always an issue. Amir Abdallah of Skills Challenge explains that a lot of misinformation is being reported on the heavyweight doubleheader. He rejects reports that claim his company offered $120 million to Usyk and Fury to stage their fight. Sometimes I sit back when I have a little bit of time, and I'll go on Twitter, and I'll read some of this stuff, and just nod my head, and I'm like, man, this is why I don't check into these kinds of things, Abdallah told Express Sport. The boxing rumor
mill is an unbelievable place. It really is. It is baseless.
But if the rumors about that exact dollar amount aren't true, where does everybody get that the best money for the show is in Saudi? Where did that notion come from? And it came from Tyson Fury's own promoter, Bob Arum. In his own words, the Saudis are willing to pay more for that fight than anybody else on the planet.
He's the one that said it.
Now, Amir Abdallah continued, I don't know where this stuff comes from, but nobody reports on an airplane landing safely. That's not news. They want the disaster. It's just there as clickbait, but does it have any substantial means? The answer is absolutely not. There has not been one offer, one number to any single person made. Abdallah also makes it clear that his company has the necessary funds to make this doubleheader a reality.
So then what part is clickbait?
The part where they say that the guys have been offered $120 million. That exact dollar amount. That's what Amir Abdallah is saying is clickbait. But if it's the way that Bob Arum said it is, and the Saudis are willing to offer more for that fight, more money, than anybody else on the planet, irrespective of an exact dollar amount, what's the issue? What's the problem?
The rights to the fight.
The deal structure is the problem. If you accept that money from the Saudis to do that show, they then auction off the rights to the highest bidder, and the highest bidder may or may not be BT Sport in the UK, it may or may not be ESPN in America. That's the problem.
Tyson Fury's promoters would be running the risks of their fighter ending up on a competing platform.
Amir Abdallah, as far as he knows, everyone involved wants to see these fights take place. He cautions that money will not be the determining factor in any of the contests not coming off. Tyson wants the fight, from what I understand. I know George Warren wants the fight, and Frank Warren wants the fight at Queensberry, Abdallah said. Usyk definitely wants the fight. AJ wants the fight. Eddie Hearn wants the fight. Shelley wants the fight. Deontay wants the fight. I mean, there's nothing that should prevent this from happening, and the offer that will be made from Skills Challenge will be a very good offer. Amir Abdallah seems a lot more optimistic than I do, likely because he has to be. He's got to try to get this fight over the line. But you tell me, that many fingers in one pie, Frank Warren, George Warren, Bob Arum,
Eddie Hearn,
Shelley Finkel, by way of Deontay Wilder. It's quite the endeavor.
It's ambitious, and a lot can go wrong.
It won't be one thing we're going back and forth with. It's going to be a premium price, and we're going to offer it to these guys and pay them their market value. If not, maybe even a little bit more. We're going to put on great fights and a great event. If anything prevents this fight from happening, it's because certain individuals don't want the fight to happen. It won't be because the money isn't there.
A familiar theme.
Money is not an object, but I speculate that the rights to the fight might be. Skills Challenge will be helming the promotion in that region of the world, but you're also talking about Top Rank being involved,
right.
Queensberry being involved,
right.
and Matchroom.
Right.
I don't think Matchroom would give them any friction, but what about Queensberry, and what about Top Rank? What about the rights to the fight potentially ending up on a competing platform?
DAZN should have no claim over the Fury versus Usyk fight, but what about the Wilder versus Joshua fight? They're trying to do all this on the same show.
You can see how there's something to reconcile there. When it comes to Fury versus Usyk, Frank Warren and Bob Arum, they're going to want the rights to that so that they can deliver that fight to their broadcast partners. But Joshua versus Wilder,
DAZN's gonna want that. Matchroom's gonna want that.
with that many fingers all in one pie, how do you make it work? That's the question.
Soon enough, we'll get the answer.
Finally, just in keeping with the theme of all things heavyweight, Deontay Wilder issued a video message to Andy Ruiz saying, "Stop playing around, Andy, and be a man, and make your own decisions and not allow your daddy to mess up your last few years. Daddy's boy. It's okay to be that, but you're a grown-ass man with children depending on you. Remember that before it's too late. Then you'll have regrets while your father lectures you on how you should have saved your money. LOL. In the video message Deontay issued to Andy, he stressed the importance of Andy having his own autonomy, making his own decisions, and not adhering to the counsel of other people. I have to agree with Deontay in the sense that Andy was in talks to fight Tyson Fury not but a few weeks ago, and for whatever reason, things did not work out. Deontay Wilder.
Andy Ruiz ain't got no time to play the blame game with Tyson Fury.
And he doesn't have an abundance of options, an overabundance of options for a big fight. This fight between Andy and Deontay was ordered by the WBC late last year in order to crown a mandatory challenger for Tyson Fury. An added incentive, at least if you're Andy Ruiz.
Not so much if you're Wilder. Wilder's already fought Tyson Fury 3 times. I don't really think he wants to fight him a 4th.
For Wilder, the focus is the Anthony Joshua fight late this year, and for Andy, the focus is just getting in a big fight in the general sense. Things already fell apart with Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
You now have Deontay Wilder to contend with, and Andy doesn't have an overabundance of big offers for big cash for very many big fights. This is one of the few, and now that they're back in talks, I agree with Wilder.
Yeah.
Andy needs to do what's right for him.
If you want to be in a big fight, here's your chance.
Deontay in the video claims to have made Andy a sizable offer. Who exactly is bankrolling this show, this fight, if they can get it over the line? Who's doing it? Is it the PBC? Is Showtime involved? Is there going to be any involvement from them at all? Because they're set to have a very big year this year.
Is this another big fight they're going to put on, or are the rumors true? Is Deontay Wilder going to jump into bed with Skills Challenge, and will they be bankrolling this fight? Because we all know by now they have a lot of interest in staging big fights in that region of the world.
I don't think most interpret Wilder versus Ruiz as potentially jeopardizing Wilder versus Joshua. Andy Ruiz, his methodology, his slow feet.
He's very dangerous mid-range to inside, but he has to get there first. And
he does.
Given that Wilder's a lot taller and longer than Andy Ruiz, he still has snap on his punches enough that he can catch Andy on the way in.
I think it's a fight most people would favor Deontay Wilder to win. I think it's a fight that doesn't really jeopardize the Joshua fight towards the end of this year. And Deontay, he needs to have a fight. He's only fought for all of 1 round.
Just one in the last 12 months, the Robert Helenius fight late last year.
I'm pretty sure Andy wants to make big money, so he needs to be in a big fight. This is one of the bigger fights he can be in, at least at this point in the juncture. Things not having worked out with Fury, you've still got Wilder.
Fight him.
If you beat him, you become the mandatory challenger to the WBC title, irrespective of who's holding it, irrespective of whether or not Tyson Fury ends up boxing Usyk or not.
You fuck this up, what are you gonna do? Go back to the PBC? Box Ali Dimarezin or Frankie Sanchez for peanuts on $1?
Doesn't have an overabundance of alternatives, and beggars, as they say, beggars cannot be choosy.
He bet on himself in the Anthony Joshua fight, the first one. He should bet on himself again in this one. Even if the money isn't everything that he wants it to be, it's his most lucrative option right now.
Even if his chances aren't that great against Deontay Wilder, you know his chances aren't that great with Frankie Sanchez either. That unbeaten up-and-comer. You could just as easily end up losing to the both of those guys, but one of those guys gets you a lot more money than the other. So that's the option he should go with.
Common sense.